In my illness, I thought you had sent it as a sign.
Henry Ford, the Ford Motor Company. It's a cuddly family American tradition. Henry Ford was the worst anti-Semite in history. His writings in the 20s and 30s had a direct influence on Hitler's Mein Kampf. He's a disgusting creature, Henry Ford. Just because he could give you any car you liked in any colour you liked as long as it was black doesn't make him a good man. The Ford Motor Company produced over 1/3 of all trucks used by the German army.
Next, the Cathedral of Our Ford, please.
All right, sir.
The Cathedral of Our Ford, please.
The Cathedral of Our Ford. The Cathedral of Our Ford. The Cathedral of Our Ford. First level, blue beam.
Oh, the Cathedral of Our Ford. Then I suppose you're part of the Archford Synth Religion staff.
All for more means more for all. All for more means more for all.
But 1969 was also the year that the Krishnas opened their first temple in Detroit, though at the time the troubled city scarcely noticed. And then suddenly, in 1972, the two biggest names in Detroit, Ford and Reuther, catapulted the Hare Krishnas into the city's consciousness with headlines like these. Henry Ford's great-grandson, Alfred, and Walter Reuther's daughter, Lisa, now Krishna devotees and friends, working together for a common goal, the Krishna consciousness movement.
How do you think your great-grandfather, how do you think your father would view this?
I think my great-grandfather would think it was all right, it was pretty good, because he was very religious and very strict. He didn't allow ballroom dancing, cigarette smoking, drinking, whatever to go on in his house, and so that's what we're doing here. And also he was interested in reincarnation and what happens after death. So I think I'm simply just carrying on what he made his money to do.
If it can be made, it can be used. And if it can be used, it can be made. History is bunk. Half the time equals double the yield. War is bad for business.
As select alphas, conditioned to believe without knowing and to know without believing, you have been chosen to view the surrogate revelations and synthetic mysteries upon which all perfect and placebo belief is founded. Here before you are sacred teletime plex relics of the sanctified life, thought, and holy works of our Ford, from whose divine inspiration came the ultimate perfection of the endless assembly line, which has given us the ultimate, endless, perfect happiness of more things, for more wants in perfect balance, with more wants for more things.
And it is from our inspired creator of the Model T that we derive our blessed sign of the T.
Ford be brave.
Let us now repeat the catechism. Community.
Community.
Identity.
Identity.
Stability.
Stability.
Ford bless you. Ford bless you. Ford bless you.
First time I saw Prabhupada was in Dallas. I went to Dallas with Atulananda, who was a friend of mine who became a devotee. And I had been corresponding with Srila Prabhupada for about a year and had done some service for him. He'd asked me to help buy the temple in Hawaii. And been reading the books and chanting, following the principles, and so he was in Dallas, and I flew to Dallas to meet him, and I was like very nervous. I hadn't even gotten up from offering my obeisances, and Srila Prabhupada said, so you know, in a very grave tone of voice, so you are Henry Ford's great-grandson. So you are Henry Ford's great-grandson. So you are Henry Ford's great-grandson. And I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. He said,
I am Mustafa Mond, Assistant Controller to her Ford chip, Nick Zona Bick, Western World Controller. and I have been assigned to show you certain selected histobunk highlights from the past.
But everything is perfect now, and everything will always be perfect. So what does it matter what things were like when it wasn't perfect?
Excellent point, but quite misguided. Exposing future stability monitors, such as yourself, to the imperfection of the past is, of course, part of the perfection of the present. Centuries ago, in primitive times, before the dawn of civilization, there were things that would be inconceivable to us today. Such things as poverty. Although there was actually land and food in abundance, some starved, because unlike our perfect society, they were unable or unwilling to balance population to consumption. Sometimes too much of one, or too little of the other. The result? Disease. And rather than eradicate the sources of disease as we have done, the superstitious primitives continued to rely upon a quite useless class of technicians called doctors. Violence, which the ancients actually appear to have enjoyed and reveled in. While we have been perfectly conditioned to want only what we have, and to have only what we want, and are, therefore, always happy, the uncivilized ancients were prey to destructive emotions, such as ambition, hate, and love, which, of course, always led to violence, which in turn, naturally, led only to more violence. And senility, while we remain at the prime metabolic age of 35 to ensure a maximum level of useful consumption until painless death from chemostimulation between the ages of 80 and 90, the people of the past lacked the knowledge of how to stay young, even though they apparently valued youth so highly that they actually indulged in superstitious self-mutilation. As seminarians who will one day take your places in synthoculture stability centers, you must face these histobunk facts, unpleasant and even revolting as they sometimes are. Eating the actual flesh of animals, and even filthy things from the ground, and sometimes refusing to engage with more than one individual of the opposite sex, and even collecting into groups called families, a pervasively immoral concept of pre-civilized times. Yes, thoroughly disgusting examples of complete sexual perversion, as you can see.
Did the primitive females actually...
Yes. Primitive females gave viviparous birth to young.
Like animals?
Yes, physiologically, exactly like animals. I understand your reactions. Perhaps we should take a brief soma break. And thus everyone is perfectly happy, perfectly content. Alphas like you, betas, gammas, deltas like these, or even epsilons. Are you happy?
Happiness for all is happiness for each. Happiness for all is happiness for each.
Are you glad to be deltas?
Deltas all have lots of fun. Deltas get to play and run.
Very good. But do you wish you had been incubated as alphas?
No, no.
Excellent. That's all.
You are viewing Helmholtz-Watson's film, Planned Perfection. Each newly produced infant is given 6 full years of nightly hypnopedic sleep-teach lectures to reinforce class acceptance conditioning. What's wrong?
Well, it's just that I'm engaging one of the Beta Plus decanters tonight. Adolph Rockefeller. Adolph Rockefeller. Adolph Rockefeller. You know, the cute one with the curly eyebrows.
Ford.
Miss Lysenko, why is this section closed down?
Oh, something that was supposed to go click, click started going clack, clack. But naturally, I wouldn't know what. I'm just a beta.
Prabhupada was planning a project that was far bigger than ever had been attempted by anyone else.
Temple like this has never been built for hundreds of years. You want to make this like a gem. We are actually standing at the moment where the actual gardens will be for the big temple. There'll be beautiful ponds and beautiful roadways and trees and flower beds everywhere.
Temple of Vedic Planetarium is something really astonishing because in the history of mankind there isn't anything like that.
Mayapur is the home for all devotees. This is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so the mercy here is very easy to obtain.
Artificial sunset has been reset for 6:04 due to technical delays. Artificial sunset has been reset for 6:04 due to technical delays.
Oh, Tomikin, it was so disgusting. It was so horrible. There was this female. She was actually...
Listen to me. This could be a real coup for me. Sacred artifacts, and I'm told there's a place not far from the village. Possibly, just possibly, there's a whole Model T. They call it the Demon's Place. Of course, if you'd rather stay behind while I go,
No! Any place would be better than here.
better take an amphetamine.
What is it?
Mescal. A little is good, much is not good.
Oh, how awful!
Well, what are you waiting for? Come on, move along.
The temple that we're building will have the largest kirtan hall in the world. It's over 1.5 acres. So for people to come and experience that is extremely important.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Ford ship Mustafa Mond, Western World Controller, from Bernard Marx. Subject, John Savage. I first took the Savage to the great cathedral of our Ford. He was obviously inspired by the deep synthetic reverence of the worshippers, and I believe I was able to explain to him the rudiments of surrogate spirituality and placidic belief. While the Savage was obviously charmed by the primary erotic play class, it did seem to raise a question in his mind.
What we want is that this Adbhut Mandir, or this extraordinary temple, should be built in an extraordinary way.
So far, I've put in about $23 million. Right now, we're kind of moving from phase 1 into phase 2.
We have divided up the construction of this temple into square footage. square footage. So the total construction of this temple is 425,000 square feet. That's how big it's going to be. Half is already built. The other half, now we need 250,000 square feet to be constructed.
What are they doing? These are the Delta workers receiving their daily ration of soma.
Like Linda?
Yes, not as much, but the same thing.
Why?
Why?
You said they were happy.
Well, of course they're happy. Everyone's happy.
Then why do they take the soma?
Because it's prescribed. 3 after work and 6 on the 4th day.
Why, Bernard?
John, really, you must stop using that word. Do you know you did extremely well the other day at electro-obstacle golf? I mean, for never having played the game before?
But it's not a game, Bernard. Everyone just sits at that machine and presses buttons, but no one runs or jumps or throws like in a game.
Well, it used to be like that once, I think, with a round object that people used to hit this way and that with sticks. Naturally, not that many people could play at the same time.
What is gamification? Gamification is the use of game mechanics in a non-game context to engage users or solve problems. Spend more time playing and feeling like we're inside the game. And we are trying to use that force, that mysterious power, to change our perception and the way of thinking. And that's what gamification is all about.
But as soon as they replaced these sticks and round things with machines, then of course more people could spend more time consuming more energy.
If no one plays, though, Bernard, why do you call it a game?
Because that's what it's called.
This Mayapur temple is actually going to be a very historic and significant contribution to the culture of the world.
ਨੀਮੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਚਿਰ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖ ਲੈ ਪੱਲੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੁਖੜਾ ਲੁਕਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖ ਲੈ